Well, welcome to this episode of Weekend Whiskeys with the O'Learys.
Well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing? It's a Friday night.
It's a Friday night, and we've got a fire going. We've got a really fun whiskey to talk about tonight.
I've been looking forward to this whiskey.
Oh, yeah. We had to go on a little bit of an adventure to find a bottle here in Utah.
So they used to sell this. The first bottle that we had was, 10 years ago?
At least.
At least, yeah. And they have stopped carrying this whiskey in Utah. And so we had to go on an adventure to get it.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun doing that. But this is really nice. It's a little breezy. It's been raining earlier today, just little showers. But the temperature's dropping. It was very hot today, and it's getting kind of cool. Perfect time for a little fire. So
today we're going to be trying one of our favorites that we found together, and we're going to tell a little story about why we enjoyed this whiskey so much. So today we're going to be talking about SheepDip.
SheepDip, yes.
So, before we jump into the story of what makes SheepDip so interesting, I think we should do a little bit of a smell and a taste.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of refresh our memories. We'll jump into the story, and then we'll talk about kind of our takes from what we're getting the taste from. Like the narrative story that you and I came up with about this whiskey a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Smelling?
Smell? Oh.
That's really good, but it is a little bit different doing this outside with the wind.
Yeah, but it's smoky.
Yeah.
It feels right at home, right next to a fire.
It really does. This is where you should be tasting and smelling whiskey. This is fun.
I don't know if it's because we recently freeze-dried some pears, or but I'm getting some little pear notes in there. Very subtle. Kind of once you get past that little bit of smokiness that was in there, you start getting into those more botanical, fruity.
So, okay. So we love this whiskey.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So don't take this as a criticism, but one of the things I'm smelling is kind of a pungent. You grew up here in Utah.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York. I grew up in New York City, but we spent a lot of time upstate New York. Upstate is very lush and green and wet.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of when we were out hunting for salamanders. You'd flip over rocks, and that smell that you get. That could be a problem.
We're going to watch that stick that just fell out of the fire.
Yeah. It's the smell that you get when you flip over a rock is kind of this earthy, a little bit musty smell. It's not bad, but
I've got one that kind of counters that doesn't counter it, that agrees with that.
Okay, go for it.
Kelp. If you've ever been in like Monterey, and you smelled kelp, not that's been sitting around and smells awful.
No, yeah.
When it first washes up and you can grab it, or if you're snorkeling, and you smell it, it has that kind of earthy botanicalness that you might get after flipping over a rock.
Okay.
There's something sea salty, but not. I don't know. I'm getting maybe a little brininess, but let's try it.
Okay.
Oh. I got peach hard.
Yeah, I was going to say there's some kind of fruit. Yeah, it's peach. Yeah,
it just the way it sat on the tongue is it just kind of plopped there, kind of like a piece of preserves, just like and it just sat in the center and then melted out from there.
Yeah, I was really having. I mean, I love this. This is where you should be drinking whiskey, is by the side of the fire, but. I did have a little bit of a hard time with the wind coming over my shoulder. It's blowing the aromas away from my nose.
Which I thought about that too, and I'm actually kind of okay with, because if it's coming at us, we're going to get all the smokiness off that fire.
Yeah.
But you can really, it certifies that you're getting those smoky notes when you drink it.
Yes.
It's not, it's not just coming from the fire.
So there's no cedar in the fire.
Yeah.
I know the woods because I cut them down a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm getting just a little hint of cedar out of this.
Okay.
So that mustiness, if you get if it's a little bit further away from your nose, it reminds me of a cedar board, a new cedar board.
Aromatic cedar or Spanish cedar?
Spanish cedar.
All right.
Yeah.
That's got some more of the like a musky tone.
Yeah.
The kind of mahoganies have that same kind of muskiness in there. That's just
okay. I have a question for you. Do you think so? When you were growing up,
yeah,
we went. There's a local lumber yard here called Macbeth Hardwood. Love that place.
Yep.
And we would go there from when you were very young, and we would put our nose right up against the boards and smell the different woods and try to get an understanding of what different woods smelled like.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that was one of the things that led us into our enjoyment of whiskey or prepared us for?
That's an interesting thought.
I'd never really thought of that
because we really spent a lot of time. We would go with my grandfather, your father, whenever he was in town, and then you and I would go with your friend Doug. I remember going with Doug a lot.
Right.
And yeah, we would go and they had it all labeled. You could see, oh, that's oak, that's cherry, that's cedar, the different kinds of cedars, mahoganies, purple heartwoods. And some things are very aromatic. You get lots and lots of smells from them. And some of them, the harder woods, you have to either cut them to get the smell or take your fingernail and run it along it just a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember you showing me how to do that very carefully where no one's going to see it, rub that edge and then you can smell it. And
yeah.
But yeah, I do think that appreciation for smell very much translates into our appreciation of whiskey.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that before until now. But yeah, there's a lot of appreciating the things that are around us, the different smells and flavors and textures and the way that you feel at a certain time. Because this is going to be with me for a long time. This sitting in front of a campfire, tasting a whiskey that we haven't had in a decade. And just the breeze and the trees, it's really a very pleasant memory that we're creating. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool and important about whiskeys or any kind of spirits is being able to kind of enjoy them. I was talking today, and we were talking about people who say that they really like whiskey, and we've had a couple of people who said they really liked whiskey. They're like, oh, great, you like whiskey like we do. No. You remember we, I don't remember which whiskey it was, but it was a very expensive whiskey. And because the guy said that he was really into whiskeys. Yeah. And then he shot a $50 glass of whiskey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And his response was, good. He's a good friend of mine. But I just think about that. It was just very much like you handed a dwarf a shot and he's just like,
There's some other tastes in there that I can't really identify. They're subtle. They're not really loud, but they're fun. And maybe as we talk about it, I'll be able to pick out a couple more of them. So we've smelled the whiskey and we've tasted the whiskey. Yes.
Both of us were getting ready to transition into the story of SheepDip at the exact same time, and we both said so. And it's like, okay, yeah, the genetics are definitely strong there. So I was going to ask you, what is with the name? It is such a unique name, SheepDip.
SheepDip. Do you want me to tell the story?
I think you should.
Okay, so I believe this is a Scotch, right?
Yeah.
So in Scotland, they would, the government always wants whatever you have. And so they would tax everything. And so they would tax the whiskey, the Scotch made in Scotland. And so, of course, if you're going to tax something, there's going to be bootleggers. And so, I haven't been to Scotland yet. We haven't been to Scotland.
No.
We would need to do that someday.
Definitely.
But It's a very farming community. There's a lot of rolling hills, a lot of sheep farms there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they would do in order to keep the insects from eating the sheep is they would dip them in an insecticide. And there's probably a name for it. It was probably difficult to pronounce. And so all the farmers just referred to this insecticide as SheepDip. And, like, why would you name a whiskey after an insecticide? No one's going to want to drink that.
Absolutely. That's perfect thing if you're going to try to smuggle some whiskey around.
That's right. So if you have a barrel of whiskey and you write SheepDip on the side of it, no one's going to open it up and stick their nose in it. And so they would, the moonshiners in Scotland would get past the taxing by labeling it SheepDip. And I just thought that was such a wonderful story.
It is a fun story. I like anything that you can circumvent some rules. I'm okay with.
We live in a very rule-driven world.
Yes.
And so whenever you hear a story about people getting around the rules, it certainly strikes a chord.
A little resistance is good for everyone.
There you go.
So, the first time you and I tried this, we had a very similar conversation with maybe different tasting notes, but there's some similar ones that we're talking about today. But I'm still getting the same narrative play through my head of what we thought about while trying this the first time. And what we were like we were talking about, the smokiness, the I don't know, maybe that there's a quality of age it's not an indictment of the whiskey at all. In fact, it's an endorsement of the whiskey. There's something old about it that you taste it, and there's, we were talking about flipping over rocks or kelp or a little bit of old, that mustiness that you were talking about. I think is a delightful thing because it transports you to a place.
Yeah.
And while we were tasting this the first time, the thing that kind of popped into our head is this little story about walking into a burned out bookstore. And in my mind, I see, all these old, books lining the walls, wall caved in, fire had run down the middle of it, but there were still intact books, almost pristine still.
Yeah.
And you could smell maybe the leather of the books. You could smell that little bit of mustiness from that maybe it had rained recently and got the pages wet.
Yeah.
You're getting of course, the smell of char running through there. But, maybe in the back room, there was someone's, cannery or their preserves or something that got heated up in the fire. And you're getting those little bits of fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even caramelized fruit.
That's interesting that... I mean, the back of my head, Dan Tesson is screaming, no! but the idea of a burned bookstore giving you the notes and the smells and the flavors that you're getting out of a whiskey is fascinating.
Yeah. And there's something, it's a fascinating little place for your brain to go. It's also very mournful. There's something about that you go, well, there's all that loss that comes from it. Maybe that's part of that flavor. It evokes maybe that feeling of loss.
So we've got a fair amount of wind behind us, and it's kind of cloudy. I don't want to say it's a spooky night.
Yeah.
It's the middle of July, but with the things that we're talking about, I could almost feel the ghost of Ray Bradbury coming over and sitting down and saying, "You're talking about burned books?" Okay, I've got the other smell that I knew it was there. I couldn't figure